And I do believe that we have rotten politics, and I'm not using that as an exaggeration.
Hey everyone and welcome. In this video we're going to be having a look at Peter Whittle in the London Assembly as he questions the Mayor of London, Sadiq Khan himself, on numerous things that I think you'll find quite interesting, and we'll break it down as it goes through. Before I do that, time for a shameless beg. As you're probably all aware, the channel is demonetised, which means it doesn't get promoted as much as it should do. So I'm relying on all of you to help me out by sharing it out, please. Let everybody know about the channel so that it gets out to as many people as possible. I thank you very much. Also, don't forget you can actually help the channel by using Patreon, PayPal, going to the merch store, or even just joining the alt platforms that I've got channels on, because that way you can keep in contact if YouTube finally do get rid of me. Watch this, everyone.
I would ask you, you say, and you did say very clearly, and it was your running slogan, you're going to be a mayor for all Londoners. Just after you were elected, we had the referendum, and one of the biggest minorities in this capital were people who voted to leave. Over 40% of people voted in London to leave. Do you think that you have been a mayor for them in all of your actions in the years since, in essentially trying to get the referendum negated?
Very good question. Does anyone listening think that Sadiq Khan represents the whole of London?
I'm not sure that's quite fair, Peter, because initially I accepted the result of the referendum and I said we've got to make it work. What happened was when Theresa May came back with the shoddy deal she did, what I said was this deal is a million miles away from what the Brexiteers promised, and in those circumstances we should put it back to the public in relation to is this what they were voting for. But we've left the EU now, the transfer has ended, and I accept the vote of the British public and I want to make it work.
Do you really accept it? I think the displays you put on Bonfire Night and New Year's Eve prove you wrong, Muppet.
And so I'm not keen to look backwards. I want to make Brexit a success for our country because that's where we are.
We've got to look backwards, Mr. Mayor, because you were very clear at the beginning, and here we are at the end of a term. You were very clear at the end, you're going to be a mayor for all Londoners. If you were thinking of that 40% of people who voted leave, you had a very funny way of showing it, I would say. Could you take this opportunity, maybe, particularly with the situation in London with vaccine, etc. You once called the EU to me when I asked you a question, your beloved EU. Do you still think it's your beloved EU when you look at the way they've been behaving over the vaccine, the diabolical politics that they have been playing? Do you condemn that?
No, I think it's possible to be a proud European, to be disappointed.
I'm a proud European, Mr. Mayor. It's not the question of that.
Can you allow Mr. Mayor to answer the question, please?
It's okay, sir.
See, this is what Sadiq does. He evades questions. He doesn't actually answer them. He didn't mention anything about Europe, Sadiq. He wants to know about the EU. You see what I mean about this man? He's a swamp fraggle of the highest order.
It's my fault, sorry, I didn't give Peter a chance. So I think it's possible to be a proud European, to be disappointed to be left the European Union, and to think the EU got it completely wrong in their behaviour in relation to the vaccines, not least yesterday. The threats being made by the EU President, I think, are wrong. And I think what's important is that we put on record our thanks to those in our country who made the vaccine rollout so successful, not least the Government Minister Nadine Zahawi I spoke to this week.
And yet, you still support them, don't you? Doesn't matter at this point what the EU do. This man's going to back them anyway.
Mr. Mayor, coming just right up today, if you don't want to look backwards, we're coming right up today to your Commission for Diversity in the Public Realm. The latest poll on that shows that 42% of Londoners do not back it. They think it's a bad idea. If you want to be mayor for all Londoners, you should scrap this. It's a terrible idea.
Well, I think the most important poll that I'm focused on is the one on May the 6th, once the campaign begins. I'm quite clear, though. I think when I look at the public realm in our city, it doesn't properly reflect the contribution made by diverse Londoners, women.
And here we go with the straw man arguments. Now, if you're not too sure what a straw man is a form of argument and an informal fallacy of having the impression of refuting an argument, whereas the proper idea of the argument under discussion was not addressed or properly refuted. One who engages in this fallacy is said to be attacking a strawman. The typical strawman argument creates the illusion of having completely refuted or defeated an opponent's proposition through the covert replacement of it with a different proposition.
People disabled, black Londoners, Asian minority ethnic Londoners, those from the LGBT plus community, and I'm unclear.
I'm not sure, but I think he ticked every box he could possibly tick in the identity politics bullshit bracket. Am I wrong?
Why you're so frightened?
I'm not frightened.
Public realm, diversity. What are you scared of, Peter?
I knew you'd say frightened. It's not a question of that. You are spinning it in a very, very positive way about representation, the implicit thing being that it's in the future. This was born at a time, and you were very clear about it at the time, it's about removal of statues.
No.
You said it in your press release when you said that London was born of a bygone era, which would indeed be history, Mr. Mayor. The fact is that I have never known people be so demoralised and dismayed by this attack on not just London's heritage, but on Britain's heritage. This is Britain's capital, Mr. Mayor. I mean, it's not...
Let Mr. Mayor answer.
There were people like you, including you probably, who were unhappy when we put up a statue of a woman in Parliament Square.
No, I don't.
Parliament didn't come falling down. Parliament's still there. And it didn't mean that somehow, Winston Churchill or others were in some way belittled by having a statue of a woman there.
And there we go with another straw man. Now at this point I'd like to point out, no one, as far as I'm aware, no one is saying that we don't want statues being put up or commemorative plaques or anything of the sort. What we care about, Sadiq, and what you know we care about, Sadiq, even though you're trying to avoid it, we care about you taking things down to do it. Now, if you don't think that we don't mind other statues going up, we've got Nelson Mandela, Gandhi, we've got suffragettes in Manchester, we've got all sorts of people, all sorts of genders, colours, creeds, the lot. So don't be telling us that it's because we're scared of statues going up. That is not the issue, and you know it. I might be wrong. Let me know in the comments if you think I'm wrong on this, but the issue is them taking our history down to put these things up. Why not just put them up somewhere else? Just a thought. I'll tell you why. It's because this is about erasing our history, not about putting up statues. We just need space for statues. A woman was put up near Churchill and nothing fell apart. We never said that. But if you'd have took Churchill down to put her up, we would have done. See what I mean? It's just ridiculous, isn't it, everyone?
Simply, Peter, I don't think anybody else will feel frightened by street names, by murals, by buildings, even, dare I say, statues.
I'm not frightened.
Diversity.
I'd like to reply at this point. Here's my reply, Sadiq. If that was the case, why are you taking them down? If no one should be scared of a statue or a memorial or anything like that, why are you so intent on taking them down?
You talked about removing them, and when you originally announced this, it was the height of all of those demonstrations. I think you're kind of wheeling back a little bit on this now. But the fact is that London is Britain's capital. So what happens here and what you have power over to do has resonance and means an awful lot to people around the country. You're talking about this country's history and heritage. You did say about removal of statues, Mr. Mayor, because I remember in the press release, I went over it with a fine-tooth comb. 42% of Londoners do not want this, Mr. Mayor. If you want to be a mayor for all Londoners, please scrap it. It's a terrible idea.
Great, straight to the point questions from Peter Whittle there. Unfortunately, that's the last time you'll see Peter Whittle in the London Assembly. It was his departing moment, but I think he held himself quite well. What do you think, everyone? In regards to Sadiq, you couldn't get more evasive if you tried. You couldn't get more box ticking if you tried. This man is a caricature, in my opinion, and I very much doubt his true beliefs hold any of this up to standard. But I may be wrong on that. In regards to the London Assembly, it's obviously not doing anything because they've been on his case all the way through and he's still useless, isn't he? But it is nice to see someone trying standing up for the rest of the country, and it is the rest of the country. What happens in London matters to most people. I know it annoys us, but it does matter. It's our capital at the end of the day. And this man's running it into the ground by hiding away from knife crime and all of the other things. But I'd like to know your opinion. If you're new to the channel, don't forget to hit the like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell icon, share it out, everyone. Please share it out. Stay sane. I'll see you on the next one.